What I thought, Biorishomi, of this rejection initially by the state returning officer for INEC or the resident electoral commissioner rather, of the manually collated results, and he said that they were going to rely rather on the IReV results because there was a disparity. Do you think that is something that probably should have been told, a line that should have been told by INEC all this while, right from the presidential elections, to this particular governorship election?
Results collated at the polling unit should be different from the one on the IReV, because the results in the IReV is expected to be the ones from the polling unit. If we have a difference in that, then there's a problem somewhere. What we have to remember is that the IReV is just a viewing portal. The real declaration of results happened at the polling unit, taken to the local government, ward unit to local government, and then to the state level for final declaration by the returning officer. So whatever is, if there's any difference in what is on the INEC portal and what people have with them, that will be a subject of litigation. Of course, that would be wrong. It's not expected to happen. There could have been an error on the part of staff uploading, or it shouldn't be different. And this is kind of error that INEC needs to watch out for. Yes, people will give them room that there will be a margin of error when you are trying a new technology for the first time. But election is too important and too sensitive to have two different results, for the same polling unit. So I think INEC still has a lot to do, and also a lot of explanations to make in election petitions tribunal to explain why they had those differences.
Okay. What about the fact that the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections as released by INEC, these are guidelines that are for any elections in Nigeria, until they come up with new guidelines, say that you should take the result that was uploaded electronically over the one that was presented manually?
Yes. The problem we have is the fact that there are two court judgments on this very particular matter on transfer of results or transmission, whichever way we want to call them. There is a judgment by the Federal High Court in Abuja saying that INEC has a right to prescribe the mode of transfer. That is, they can choose transmission and then change their mind, to manual. Then there's another judgment which I'm now aware of, granted by Justice Lifu of the Federal High Court, Ikoyi, saying that INEC, in respect to Lagos, INEC should transfer the results electronically. That's for the governorship election. So these are two judgments. We need, until this case is sorted out at an appellate level, it then becomes impossible for anybody to say whether INEC was wrong to have allowed the manual transmission of results or right, because both federal high courts are courts of equal, coordinate jurisdiction. So we need an appellate ruling on that very matter. That's my own view, to stay within the law.
Okay, I want to read a section of the regulations and conduct of the regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections to you. Okay, I do not have. I think this is the exact, but it says where the INEC hard copy of collected results for the immediate lower level of collation does not exist, the collation officer shall use electronically transmitted results or results from the IReV portal to continue collation. So it's clear from what this law says that you can use the results from the IReV portal to collate. Mr. Shomi.
Yes, correct.
You were questioning. You said the IReV portal is just for viewing, but this is section 93 of guidelines and conditions for the conduct of elections in Nigeria. So What do you say about this? Because it says you can use the IReV portal. Yeah.
Yes. Note the absence of one legal word there. There is no shall. Shall. So if you have, it's not obligatory. They may choose not even to use that as a source of information. That's the problem, because the original raw source material, it's the Form EC8, I think, EC8C, which was signed at the polling unit level.
EC8A.
Yeah. EC8C. That should be the same result on the IReV portal. In a situation where you have what is on Form EC8A different from what is on the IReV portal, there is no way they can use the one on IReV portal because it's from EC8A that is authentic. That's the source material that has been uploaded. So, in my view, that is why it is not mandatory, it is not obligatory that INEC must use the information on the VIN portal, for the purpose of determining that. And it's the job of a returning officer, to do that. He may choose to use it or not to use it. It's not obligatory on his part. That is the point I'm trying to make, sir.
Okay, Mr. Shomi, actually, Section 93 of the Regulations and Guidelines for the Conduct of Elections 2022 actually says that you shall. And even Section 94 also says that you shall.
Yes, shall do.
No, Section 93. Okay, so it says that where the INEC hard copy of collated results from the immediate lower level of the collation does not exist, the collation officer shall use electronically transmitted results or results from the IReV portal to continue the collation. So there's no may there, it's shall. That you can use the IReV portal is available to be used for collation because it is simply a picture of the Form EC8, the same Form EC8A. So I do not know what the fear is. I mean, if it's the same thing.
It's still the same thing.
Yeah, so why and it says shall, which is, that's what it says. You shall use it. Just to correct
that is what I'm saying. It's not mandatory that they shall use the IReV portal. There's still, other forms of verification. And a returning officer can choose not to use the IReV portal for his own verification, given the fact that the source of the material uploaded on the IReV is actually the Form EC8A. If I have that with me, why then do I need to use another portal? It's not obligatory that is the only means that they must use. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't know whether...
But Mr. Shomi, is it not the Form EC8A that is on the IReV portal?
Well, you gave me an example earlier on where what's on the IReV portal is different from EC8A. So you can have a situation, we are dealing with politicians. You can have a situations where the Form EC8A could be mutilated deliberately, for political ends or for mischievous ends. And at the end of the day, you then have a different result on the IReV. Let me give you a good example. The example given by Dino Melaye on Ekiti, that the information he had with him on the Form EC8A, stated that there was overvoting. And the returning officer, who is the chairman of INEC, actually looked at the papers and said the ones with him did not show overvoting. It showed, undervoting. So you can have a situation where people can deliberately or mischievously, wanting to score a point, alter those information. But the bottom line is, whatever information from EC8A is not only given to all the agents of political parties, but also given to the security officer in charge of that polling area. Maybe in this case, the commissioner of police. So therefore, when it comes to litigation, so many other issues, will crop up, and the court will be able to determine what is right from what is wrong. It does not mean that IReV portal cannot even be hijacked or hacked, to change the information on the system. We are using this technology, so it will have its own challenges. And the court will resolve this within the shortest possible time of 180 days.
So when there's a discrepancy or disparity, between the results as the result sheet captured on the IReV portal, that's the one they snapped the result sheet at the polling unit, and then the one that was the results that have been announced or brought to the collation center by the local government returning officer, for instance. Where there's that disparity, because we've seen results being changed with pen.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just simple. You just put a 0 in front of someone's result and then cancel one number, and when then add a 2 in front of someone's result, it becomes 200 and something. And when you have that disparity where the result on the IReV portal is showing something different, which one should be taken?
Well, the results submitted by the INEC returning officer will be the one INEC will go with. If that result differs with the one with the political parties, of course the party agents are expected to challenge it, and then the returning officer will have to determine what to believe. If he chooses to ignore the ones provided by the political party agents, is required in writing to state that there was objection and he overruled it. Is required to do that. But if he chooses to accept the objection, then that becomes final on that part. The only thing anybody can do is, after the declaration of results, we have 7 days in which to make further representation to INEC to review the decision taken by the returning officer. Otherwise, we go to the tribunal. That's the process. So everything depends on the returning officer. Okay. Whatever he says, there is final at the polling unit level.
All right, Mr. Chomi, I think Section 93 of the Guidelines, Regulations and Guidelines for the Conduct of Elections in Nigeria 2022 really resolved the controversy, what you said about whether the IReV portal can be used to collate results. It says it can. That one is settled. But Section 51 of the Regulations and Guidelines gives us the answer to whether, and I want your thoughts on this, whether if there's a discrepancy or disparity, there's a difference between what is placed on the front of the collation officer paper, EC8A, versus what is online. The moment any party raises an objection, there is a dispute mechanism procedure that INEC itself put in place. And this is contained in Section 51 of the Regulations and Guidelines for the Conduct of Election. It says, where there is any discrepancy in any result submitted by a presiding officer to the RA or ward collation officer as verified from the result transmitted or transferred directly from the polling unit, the RA officer or ward collation officer shall, I, request explanation from the presiding officer or officers concerned about the circumstances of the discrepancy. I, locate the point of discrepancy, resolve the discrepancy using the electronic result, and request the presiding officer to endorse the resolution. That is what it says. And the last one, I make a report of the discrepancy. So it says you resolve it using the electronic result. It is in black and white, Mr. Chomi. It is clear, unambiguous. Wouldn't you say, sir?
You really need to go back and read it properly. There are 2 stages of collation. The first stage is in relation to all elections from National Assembly up to state level. The collation point, it's at the level of the state. It is only the presidential election that the collation point is at the level of, is what is done in Abuja. Now, if there is a dispute, the electoral rules are very, very clear on it. The steps to be taken, if you read Electoral Act section from Section 60, is very clear. If anybody has any objection on any voting material, ballot paper or what have you, you state that to the presiding officer, and the presiding officer can choose to reject your own objection. But then the returning officer has the final say. It is only the returning officer that has the final say because he's the only one that can declare the results if he's satisfied. Of course, he's bound to ask the presiding officer, to explain why he's disagreeing, with what the party agent, observed, and he will state his own case. If the returning officer agrees with the presiding officer, then that's the end. That's final. He will now make a pronouncement to say that, he's accepting the result. And once he's done that, you can only, go back within 7 days to INEC, for make further representation or go to the Elections Petitions Tribunal. That is all what one can do in relation to that. Whether he chooses to use a viewing portal like IReV, to make up his mind to determine the objection or not, is not the issue. If he chooses not to use IReV, to determine, there's nothing we can do because it's not mandatory for him to use the IReV, as the only source of determining or resolving disputes or complaints made by
Thank you, Mr. Shomi.
That's the point.
Yeah, but Mr. Shomi, Section 60 of the Electoral Act doesn't talk about the conflict resolution mechanism. If in anything, it talks about the procedure of announcing results, counting results, signing the result sheet, and also the penalty for those officials who contravene any section of the Electoral Act or who intentionally, scuttle an election. You go to prison, which is what some of these INEC officials, if the things are done right, they should be cooling their heels in prison because some of them have deliberately changed the results. Mr. Shomi, some of them have gone ahead to do what the Electoral Act says they shouldn't do. But we'll leave that for another day. Section 60 doesn't...
But I will agree with you that they should go to prison. Those who have committed offenses.
Yeah, but Mr. Shomi, I'm just about to ask my question. You see, we don't live in a banana republic where, because you are an INEC official, you can do what you want. You actually can't do what you want. Even the president, even the INEC chairman cannot do what he wants. There are laws. You can't just say because I'm the...
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the law is clear. I think what you're referring to is found not in Section 60 of the Electoral Act, but in Section 51 and Section 93 of the Regulations and Guidelines for the Conduct of Elections. Now, Section 91 makes it clear. So I'm coming, sir. Can I learn, please? Can I learn, Mr. Shomi? Please. I appeal to you. Section 93 clearly states, and I'm going to read it again, that the IReV can be used as a means for determining the result of an election. Moreover, the IReV is not only the only means. You have electronically transferred or transmitted results, which also are there. So these can be used. Otherwise, why are they transmitted? Why would the results be electronically transmitted? We can even leave the IReV and talk about the results as electronically transmitted. And it says in Section 93, I read it before, that where the INEC hard copy of collated results from the immediate lower level of collation does not exist, the collation officer shall use electronically transmitted results, which is what we said, which is the first thing the Electoral Act talked about when it says INEC should transfer the results in a manner they deem necessary. The guidelines now say they're going to, first of all, transmit or transfer the results electronically. Then secondly, upload the results on IReV portal, which is the second thing a lot of Nigerians get confused about. So Section 93 says that the collation officer shall use electronically transmitted results or the results from IReV portal to continue collation. So they can be used for collation. That is not in doubt. That is sorted out. But Section 51, sir, is clear. It says that where there is a discrepancy, I'm going to read it. I read it for you, sir, the first time. I'll just take it again for emphasis sake. It says where there is any discrepancy in a result submitted by a presiding officer to the RA or ward collation officer as verified from the result transmitted or transferred directly from the polling unit, it says the collation officer shall, request explanations from the presiding officers concerned about the circumstances of the discrepancy. Sir, locate the point of discrepancy, resolve this discrepancy using the electronic results, and request the presiding officer to endorse the resolution. So it's clear.
No.
There's a discrepancy, you use the electronic result.
Will you allow me to
yes, please, yes, please, by all means.
No, what seems very clear to me is you still do not, either I am a bad communicator or I'm not, making the point clear. The issue in contention is this, in my view, is IReV portal the only means mandated by law to resolve dispute. I'm rephrasing it in my own words, maybe because it's more convenient for me to do that. In my view, and what I'm saying is, it is not the only one. It is not mandatory in law that is the only instrument to be used to resolve dispute. And when you go by the two sections you read, he's saying it can.
No, sir. No, sir. Mr. Shomi, please. That is not what it says. I have a copy. I don't know if you have a copy. I have a copy of both laws. It doesn't say it can. Mr. Shomi, it says shall.
You need to read it again. If there's a conditional, it's a conditional.
No, sir. Statement. No, sir. No, sir. Mr. Shomi. No, sir. Mr. Shomi. No, please. Let's not misinform our public. It doesn't say if. The first thing you said, no, sir. It doesn't say if. No. I didn't read if. Maybe you are deliberately not hearing what I'm saying. It says where. Where there is any discrepancy, the collation officer shall. But you've consistently said it doesn't say shall. Please. It says shall. I think we owe a duty to Nigerians at least to read the law correctly. And that's what I'm attempting to do, to read the law correctly. You also said the IReV portal cannot be used for collation results. And I read it to you out there. They said you shall. You can use it.
Okay. Sir. Please, at the end of this program, you need to go back and listen to what you read. And I'm sure the viewers heard you when you said if.
Mr. Show me, it's here. I said where? No, I said where there is. Okay, if I said if, I'm correcting myself. Where there is any discrepancy, anywhere, the presiding collation officer shall, locate the point of discrepancy, resolve the discrepancy using electronic result. I said where, not if. And what difference does it make? But I said where. Mr. Show me, thank you. Yes.
Listen, if you're correcting yourself now, I have commented on what you said earlier on.
Okay.
If you are now saying something else, then that's a different thing completely.
So are you agreeing that if where there's a discrepancy, the electronic results will be used? Are you agreeing to that?
I'm saying to you that it's not obligatory or mandatory.
Sir, it is obligatory and mandatory according to law. It's here.
Are you going to listen to me?
Yes, I'm listening to you, sir.
Yeah, it shouldn't be you don't have to agree with my viewpoint. Even in a court of law, you have two opinions or several opinions before a judge. It is only a judge that will determine it. You can disagree. You can choose to disagree with my own interpretation or my own reading. What seems to be very clear to me is when you read from section 60 up to 65, you will come to a conclusion that if there is a dispute, the presiding officer will resolve the matter. And if the returning officer has the final say on accepting a result or not accepting a result.
Is this section 60, section 61, section 62, 63, 64, 65? I've read it. It's not there. What you're saying isn't known to law. I'm sorry, Mr. Show me.
On how to resolve issues that it's not the presiding officer?
It's on how to resolve issues that it will not be done electronically. Beyond Show me, thank you for your time. I've always enjoyed talking to you, sir, and definitely will engage again. It's lovely to have your perspective and your point of view. Thank you so much, sir.